Welcome. It's another day, another opportunity to learn about yourself through the lens of the Bhagavad Gita, one of the world's greatest spiritual texts that's been read for centuries and across cultures because it's really about you and your life right now, wherever you happen to be. We're talking about being able to be your true self, to get in touch with who you really are. I mean, really. Like, what are you really meant to do in this lifetime? Who are you beyond all the labels others give you or you put on yourself? When one knows that, one's life changes profoundly and usually permanently. How do we get to that state? Because as social animals, we are predisposed to accept conditioning. That way we fit in with the crowd and assure our safety. You know, we're helpless little pink, clawless, fangless beings on our own, but together, man, look what we've done. Oh, and hi, Beryl. Beryl is passing through right now. It's a nice break between rainstorms. Today, during this break, we will look at chapter 6 again. And one of my favorite verses in the Gita, verse 16 of chapter 6. And it's going to play into what I've mentioned already, our need to be accepted by those around us. I'm reading from because I know many of you have these books, Embracing the Song of Your Soul, or any of the Song of Your Soul. It's going to be verse 616. And if you do have the Embracing book that I just held up, it's the translation on the left, the more poetic translation. In the original Sanskrit meter, the English version sounds like this. But yoga is not possible for anyone who eats too much. Now, what if I just stopped there? Many of us in the West would be going, yeah, that's true, because when I see all these people doing yoga on magazine covers, they're generally skinny little things, generally speaking. So, but yoga is not possible for anyone who eats too much or who does not eat anything, who sleeps too little or too long. This verse is all about moderation and accepting yourself where you are. And I mentioned society's conditioning. Society is not necessarily always good at meeting us where we are. It often sets up an ideal. And that's not just society in general, but many societies, like the Yoga Society, for example. As a yoga practitioner, what are you supposed to look like? I have so many people tell me that they could never practice yoga because they don't live up to this idea in their head of what a person who practices yoga should look like. And sometimes the yoga community is, reinforcing that idea for many reasons. So yoga is not possible for anyone who eats too much or who does not eat anything. Often the need to eat too much or deny oneself comes from pressures, like we eat too much when we need comfort or when we're bored, and we don't eat anything when we feel like, dang it, I've gotten too fat or too out of shape or too unhealthy. If we listen to our inner wisdom, this is what Samatvam is all about. Finding your true self is learning that you have true inner wisdom and you can listen to it, no matter what society says. I like to bring this example up. When my grandparents were young, smoking was good for them, and they listened. And sugar, when I was growing up, was good for kids. So my mom gave me a lot of sugar. Now look at what we know. If we just listen within, which I started doing when I was older, I'm like, every time I eat sugar, my allergies are worse. oh, maybe I should cut down. And I did, but it was natural because I started knowing myself. I didn't have to impose anything from the outside. And then same thing with sleep. In the West, sleep is not held in high esteem. And even in ashrams that I've been in around the world, because I've been to ashrams around the world, I've been very fortunate, yoga centers, and there is in some of them a culture of I do more karma yoga, I do more work, I do more practice than you, I'm up all night, I sleep 2 to 3 hours a night. And if that's in accordance with your inner wisdom, great. But otherwise it's for ego. And the ego, the small s self in the Gita, is the direct enemy of who you really are inside often. They can work together, but often they set themselves up as adversaries. The little ego wants something while the big self is going, no, I want to be the same weight at 50 that I was at 19. And the body goes, what are you thinking? Or the true self's like, what does it matter? If you're eating healthily, what does the shape matter? And sleep is so important. It restores us. So I invite you to think of how you can listen to your inner wisdom, which is vast. It's come down to us through generations of perfection. Listen, and how can you care for yourself today? Really care for yourself. Let's start with our pose. And remember, you can care for yourself by varying how it's done. You can sit, you can lie down, you can do something that feels good, you can skip it altogether. So let's start here. Taking care of yourself as we do our one-footed balance pose. And I will be taking care of myself. Let's switch, and maybe the second side needs a different standard of care. Now our contemplation. And for the next 5 minutes, I invite you to consider how can you listen within and take good care of yourself today. Really practice the true meaning of yoga. Let's find out. Welcome back. And once again, welcome Beryl, who has started raining upon me. I did have to move the tech out of the way. Caring for oneself can also mean caring for the things that are under one's care, or the beings, because the computer and the phone are definitely beings of their own. And it was interesting because as I was sitting there, right before it started to rain, my inner wisdom, I could feel it in my body. All of a sudden, I had this intuition, it's coming. It's coming. And then it was here. So you know more than you give yourself credit for, and sometimes sitting and being quiet, that wisdom can speak. Can you allow that wisdom to take care of you today? And today's practice is dedicated to David. Lots of care to you on your healing journey. Lots of care to all of you, and I can't wait to explore more about you tomorrow. Until then.